Hey everyone, welcome back to the Bari Sax Masterclass. My name is Sal, and today we're going to be going over scales. So the first scale we're going to review is the chromatic scale. For us, we're going to start on G, 1, 2, 3, and go 1 octave for a chromatic scale. So we start on G. We're going to play every half step in between G and high G. It's going to sound like this. When we play our chromatic scale, we want to make sure that every note is even. So to help us, I'm going to take out my metronome right here, and I'm going to put the 8th note on 60. So now, T, 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 T. I'm going to play like that. Another thing that we can do, if I stop this real quick, we can do triplets. So we could put the metronome back on quarter note, and instead of doing the 8 notes, let's try that. Triplet, triplet, triplet. We could play the chromatic scale like that. So all these help us to get our chromatic scale even, so that if we need to play a passage really fast, we can work up to it using the metronome. So if we have the metronome, the subdivision on 60, we can move it up to 70 and play a little bit faster. Move it up 10 clicks again to 80. And we could keep on going until we reach just about 120. And then when we hit 120, we can go back to 60 and play 16th notes. So it's going to be the same feel, but it's going to be 16th notes at 60. Then you keep on going until you can't anymore. And if you ever reach a point where you can't keep on playing, you go back and you start a little bit slower, and it'll feel a little bit easier to do that. So when we play our chromatic scale on saxophone, we have a lot of alternate fingering options. So one of them is B flat. When we play B flat in an F major scale, we would use the bis key, which means the bis key is over here, where we play the first one and then the little note underneath with your left hand. So this is the bis key, and when you play an F major scale, it's very easy to use that one key just to press down. B flat, A, G, F. B flat to C is just one finger pressing 2 keys, right? So when we play a chromatic scale, sometimes that gets in the way a little bit because we have to slide our finger up. Another option we can do is A, 1, 2, and then the last one on our right side, our palm key right here, or the side B flat, as it's called. So again, if you look up at the top, at my left hand, we use 1, 2 fingers for A, and then we use the side key right there. So when we play our chromatic scale, when we go from B to A, we're going B, B flat with the side key, and then A, G, and so on. Then when we go up to C, it's easier to go B flat, B, C, C sharp, or A sharp, B, C, C sharp. So I want everybody everybody to practice that just a little bit. We're going to do our G chromatic scale, G, G sharp, A sharp with the side, B, C, C sharp, D, D sharp, E, F, F sharp, G, and then back down and try that again right in there. From C, C, B, B flat, A, and so forth. Okay? So when we're practicing our chromatic scale with the metronome, sometimes it can be really tough if we start at a very fast pace. And sometimes we miss some notes. So, it's really important that we start, and it's really okay to start at a very slow tempo. To get every single note very clear. So when we get every single note really clear, we can start to go a little bit faster. Now when we go a little bit faster, we can also articulate the notes with our tongue. So when we articulate, we can start at a slow tempo again. And we could go a little bit faster. Now for this time, we only want to increase our speed by about 5 clicks on the metronome, so we don't go too fast. Now when we use our articulations, we can do different rhythms. So I said before that we could use our triplet rhythm. We can do triplet, 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 and articulate triplet, triplet, or we could do triplet, 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 and articulate every single downbeat that we have. Now we could do different rhythms too. We can swing it. So when I swing it, I kind of want to do a dotted 8th note and then a 16th note attached to it. D ba da ba da ba da ba da ba da ba da. We can switch that by doing a 16th note and then a dotted 8th note. That's a little bit more advanced, but we can take it down and do it a lot slower. So the first one that we can do, the dotted 8th, 16th, and then when we switch that, it becomes this. And if we're not careful, sometimes it sounds like the same thing, because we have to really think about dee ba da ba da ba da, or dee da dee da dee da dee da, just like that. Another thing that we could do with chromatic scale is start on any note. And when we start on any note, it'll be the same scale, just starting in a different place. So let's say I want to start on middle C. So we go C, and then we end on a high C and come back down. So it's the same scale. And it's going to have the same number of notes. We're just starting on a different note. So when we do that, we could either do C to high C, or we could do low C. So if we have trouble, again, I said this before in our last video, if you have trouble getting the low notes out, we can start on middle C. And work our way all the way down so we could hit that low C. And after we feel comfortable with that note, we start on low C and do our chromatic scale up to middle C. Now we could either do 1 octave, or if you're feeling like you can do it, you could do 2 octaves all the way up to high C. So or we could try for 2 octaves. Now that takes a lot of air to go 2 octaves. So when we do that, we want to make sure that every note from low all the way up to high is nice and even and supported by good air, so that every note from high to low is crystal clear when you